Hello and welcome to Single Sourcing Solutions TC Dojo. I'm about to get started. Today's topic is Arbortext Editor. So easy a child can do it. Oftentimes we get asked if Editor is easy enough for the average or lay person to use. So the typical scenario is you've got a tech pubs group that is either in structured authoring or they're moving to structured authoring. So they understand the benefits of XML already, and they get why they're doing what they're doing. But they also have people who don't fit into, they have a group of writers that don't fit into the typical tech pubs group. These writers could be geologists or other scientists or engineers or financial analysts. You know, perhaps they're in the pharma industry or in the medical device industry. And these content collaborators and key contributors are subject matter experts, so they have a portion of authoring that they do, but technical publications is not their world. So the benefit of XML, they don't really understand, or is it really that important to them because their focus is on their area of expertise. So what do you do in this situation where you understand XML, you're moving to structured authoring, you have structured authoring, and you want the content to come back to you in a usable format so that makes things easier for you to incorporate their contribution into the final publication? So that's why people ask us, is Editor easy to use? Now, oftentimes these people, they've all used Word. I mean, I can't think of anyone who's in the work world today who has not used Word. It's pretty pervasive. It's an entire generation has actually been raised using office productivity tools. I've seen lesson plans as early as second grade, and perhaps there's some that go even lower than that. But they start them out young, and they teach them Microsoft Word on how to open and close and how to edit content, how to add content, how to add graphics, whatnot, how to format their document, and then how to save it out. So it's no wonder that we're very comfortable with these tools because they're so pervasive and they're copied almost everywhere, even in a lot of the email systems, right? It mirrors a lot of what's done in these productivity tools. And that's what productivity tools should be. They should make it enjoyable. It should be easy to use. You shouldn't have to fight with the tools that you're using because otherwise those tools aren't for you then. And it should make it more enjoyable. It really should. You should be able to focus on your content or on your core objectives of your role and responsibilities and not have to worry about tools. So how do they stack up? How does Editor stack up to a tool like Microsoft Word? So I took a screenshot here, and on the top you'll see this is Arbortext Editor, and right underneath it is a screenshot when you open up Microsoft Word. So you can see they have icons, we have icons. They have drop-down menus, we have drop-down menus. And in fact, a lot of the icons are shared. They're similar amongst these two tools. So you can see immediately there's going to be some comfort. There's going to be some familiarity as soon as you open it up. So they can rest assured and not be as fearful of learning a new tool. But this is where things get very different because unlike Word and Arbortext, we separate that content from the final output. So what you see on the screen is not what you get in the published output or when you hit print. Unlike in Word, what you see on that screen is what you're going to get when you hit print. If you change a color, it's going to change on the output. If you change font size, font family, it's going to change on the output. But in Editor, all of those formatting issues are automatic. There's actually even generated text that's created, so they don't have to worry about filling in all the details. They really can focus as an author or contributor, you can really focus on the content, which is the core of your responsibility. is the content of what you're authoring. So it should make your life a lot easier. So let's take a look at Editor a little deeper. Oh, one more note. This separating form from content is actually, honestly, it's the biggest hurdle to overcome. Oftentimes the first frustrations that I hear when people are using Editor is, well, I changed it in my screen. How come it doesn't look like that when I publish? Or they're frustrated because they're entering information, but they don't see what it's going to look like. So that really is a hurdle that you do have to overcome, honestly, but it's worth overcoming. So let's take a look at Editor from a novice perspective, just from the contributor, collaborator. You know, there's some key things that we do in Word every day or in Office productivity tools every day that we're comfortable with, right? Things like bolding and italics and bullets and editing content and inserting a paragraph. These are standard basic things that everyone's going to do over and over and over again in any tool that they're using, especially if they're using it for authoring. The infamous copy, cut, and paste, the priceless, right? These functions are priceless, and we all know Control-C, Control-X, and Control-V. And my favorite, the oops, I shouldn't have done that, Control-Z to undo my last step or steps. You can do search and replace. You can put in tables. You can actually, you know, select your columns and rows. How many do you want? You can do some formatting, some minor formatting things in there. And graphics, right? And the nice thing about graphics is you don't have to worry about formatting your graphics or sizing them. That's done automatically. So let's take a look. Let's actually open up Editor right now. So I have a sample document. This is out of the box DocBook sample from PTC. And let's go through our list and see how we go about executing it from a novice perspective. So the first thing we talked about is bold. I want to be able to bold content. So simple. I can highlight content and I simply go to the icon and I select bold. And I double-clicked accidentally, and it will bold my content for me. So you can see that that's bolded now. Okay, italics. Again, just as easy. Let's highlight some text and say I want that italicized. Done. No problem. And what about underlining? If I want to underline for emphasis, well, there you go. There's the icon, and now my text is underlined. Pretty simple. So now what if I want to edit content by adding more information in here, right? So let's go ahead and go and type new material. I'm just keeping it on all caps so I can see what's new. Type new material. If I want to delete part, I can go ahead and highlight that and hit delete. Done. It's gone. Now what if I wanted to insert some content in there? So let's highlight some text. We'll just take it and Control-C, just like we would in Word. Go up to where we want to put it, up here in the paragraph. And we'll just go ahead and say Control-V, and it pasted it in. So there's the new content that we've inserted. Now, what about if I've done something incorrectly or I didn't intend to put that there? I can hit Control-Z, and it will remove that content, that insertion. It will remove that last step. You can actually hit Control-Z, and it'll remove steps. So you can keep hitting Control-Z to back out of all the steps. Pretty easy. What if I wanted to copy and paste an entire paragraph? Well, let's take this paragraph, and we'll say Control-C. And we're just going to go ahead and put it right here and Control-V. And there you go. We've added a new paragraph. Pretty simple. Another way to add a new paragraph is this paragraph insertion. So we can insert a paragraph here, and we can type information And this is our new paragraph. Pretty easy. Let's see, what about search and replace? So we have this icon, very familiar icon for everybody, find and replace, or we have the drop-down find, which has other options for us. So I'm just going to go to find and replace because that's all I care about at a novice level. And I'm going to go ahead and type in the word. I want to find all the occurrences of PTC and replace it with wiggles. Okay, so I could either find next or replace all. I'm just going to select replace all, and it found all those occurrences. And I just say okay. So if we close this out, we can see where wiggles, misspelled and all, is in there, but you can see it's highlighting the misspelling, right? So there's actually a spell check in here. And I can say change all, so it'll fix my typo. There we go. And close that. Okay. So we see Wiggles University instead of PTC University. So everywhere where PTC showed up is now Wiggles. Everywhere in the document, even up here in the title. Okay. Pretty easy. Not too difficult. What about tables? So let's insert a table. Just go ahead and go to the drop-down menu, and here is your request to insert a table. Or you can do Alt-Shift-T. The one thing I do want to pause here a moment and say is there are many paths to get to where you want to go in Arbortext, in any of the tools. It allows for individual comfort. Some people are more comfortable using function keys. Some people are more comfortable with the drop-down. We all find our own shortcuts on how to get our jobs done. The more familiar we become with the tool, it allows us to work in a way that we feel more productive. So same thing with Arbortext Editor. There's many ways to get there. This is just one way, and I'm showing you from a novice perspective, but there are lots of other ways to do this. So we got a simple informal table. I'm going to go ahead and create a number of rows so we have a bit to play with here, and a number of columns, so it'll have some substance here. And I'll just say okay, and look, it inserted the table where I asked it to insert it. We have a very simple table. So if we wanted to go ahead and span some cells, we can do that. It's very easy. You simply highlight the cells. And we've got some hotkeys here, some hot buttons for taking action inside of the tables. These are specific for the table, and I can say span those. And let's say we span these. Now, if I did this in error and I don't want this spanned, I actually can easily undo it with that. There you go. Pretty simple. Not a whole lot to do here. And then when you're ready to enter in your content, you can just click into the cell and type in your content, and it'll show up in the cell. Okay? You don't have to worry about color. You don't have to worry about font. You don't have to worry about size of text in here. None of that, because all of that can be done with the style sheet. So all you have to focus on as a content contributor or collaborator is that your content is correct, and then it's going into the cell that you intended to go into. That's all you have to worry about. All right? So that covers tables. What about graphics? So let's go again to our Insert drop-down menu, and we see Graphic. So let's go ahead and select Graphic. And we'll just pick any old graphic to go in there. I like this little guy. We'll put him in there. So now we've inserted a graphic. I don't have to worry about sizing the graphic because Styler's going to take care of this. I just have to make sure it's the right graphic. Again, I let go of formatting and allow it to automatically happen in the final output. Okay? Wow, so let's see, we've covered bold, bullets. We haven't covered bullets yet, so let's see how we add bullets. So I want to go ahead and I'll copy this because I want to repeat a couple of paragraphs. So we've got at least 3 paragraphs, so let's do one more just for good measure. Just give us some space. Okay, so say this is actually, I want to create list items and I want an ordered list. Very simple to do, numeric list, and it will order the list. I want to add to my ordered list. I can, Control Z. I can add an additional item to the list, but it's not numbered. I have to say I want this paragraph also part of this ordered list. It automatically assumes that it's a subordinate to the bullet above it, and that's okay. You can just go ahead and very easily promote that item. Pretty quick and easy. Doesn't take a whole lot of work. So the content is showing up. I just want to make sure that it's attached to this list above it. So I'm going to go ahead and promote that. And I can see where it's automatically numbering the sequence for me. Now, say this actually really is a subordinate to this one. Very easily, you can go in here and move that down a level, and it'll make it subordinate to this numeric list item above it. And so doing bulleted lists just as easy. Just click on the paragraph anywhere in here, actually, and we'll take this entire paragraph and make it into a bulleted item. So that's pretty straightforward. Bullets are pretty straightforward. So let's see, we've seen everything on here, I think. We've covered bold, italics, bullets, editing content, inserting a paragraph, and it's all very simple. We've managed to cover this rather rapidly, but you can see how easy it is to use from a novice perspective, right? Now, what about when you get a little bit more comfortable? So you get a little bit more comfortable with the tool. You can actually change your editing environment to suit your preference. You can change colors, you can change font size, you can make it a little bit more your own. In Word, you can't do that because in Word, whatever change you do changes the output. It doesn't allow for individuality in my editing environment. So if I perhaps need to make the text a little bit larger, it's not as easy to do in Word. Split windows so you can see a document tree. Word, you can't do that. What tree? It doesn't understand a split window. Way we would consider a split window in authoring. Moving content chunks. In Editor, I can move entire chunks, large or small, all around in the document. I can reorder things if I need to very rapidly just by dragging and dropping it where I'm allowed to drop it and where I want it to go. You can't do that in Word. You can copy, cut, and paste, but it's not even close to what I'm talking about when I say I can move entire chunks of content. In Editor, I can view it tags on or off. Doesn't matter. If I'm not comfortable looking at tags, I can turn them off and never see them. In Word, what tags? It doesn't really allow you that. Even if you save it as an XML document, it's not a native one. So there's going to be muck that comes along with it that you're going to have to strip out and possibly have to reauthor in order to get it into a true XML tool. So you still got that challenge with that import-export, right? So let's take a look in real time and see what I'm talking about. So here we see the one window typically, right? So this is if I'm a novice, I want to open up a document, I just see the document, and this is where I'm comfortable. But if I'm getting a little bit more comfortable, there's icons up here that allow me to actually split the window. So I can split that window, and I see on this side, this is actually an outline of my entire publication here. This is everything in the document, and I can navigate on this side if I wanted to. I can expand and collapse from here quite rapidly. I can move things around. So let's talk about moving things around. I could do it from this side, but most people, it takes not very long. I think within a week, and everybody usually has at least the split screen going, and they're all pretty confident working in this tree. But I can take an entire paragraph. Let's just take this opening paragraph, and I can move this if I want to. So if we see, I just take this and I can drag it. Now we see how this little round circle showed up just next to the cursor with a red line through it. This means that I cannot put this paragraph there. It's not allowed. Again, editor will block you from doing things that you're not allowed to do, things that would make it invalid. It will only allow you to do what you're allowed to do. I can move the paragraph down here. See, I've got a green check mark. So that paragraph is actually allowed here. So let's just drop it here, and we can see where this paragraph is now inserted at the end of all of these lists, because that's where it was allowed to be. Now, if I didn't mean to do that, I can hit my Control-Z, and it will revert back to where the document was before I made that change. So I've just relocated the paragraph back up. So you can do this with larger, as I said before, you can do this with larger chunks of data. So let's take this entire chapter, and that's a pretty large chunk of content. Right now, it's chapter number 2 is the challenge for Wiggles University. So let's take this entire chapter and move it quite easily. So we've selected it. It can't go there. Where can it go? So as soon as I see the check mark, I know I can drop it. So if I wanted to reorder the chapters and I wanted to put the challenge for Wiggles after the traditional approach, there you go. And it renumbered the chapters. So while we're looking at it, these numbers are actually in the funny green. These are generated text. I don't have to add these chapter numbers. This is automatically done. This is part of the formatting that's done automatically that I don't ever have to think about. Just like in numbering the ordered list. Now, one of the things we talked about was personal preferences. Well, I can actually change this environment to what I like, what I feel more comfortable with. So let's say for that generated text, I don't like that green, it drives me nuts, and I want to change it to a different color. So I can go in here and I can pick any color I want. And that will actually, so if we watch these, that will change the color for me. So personally, say this is visually easier for me to comprehend. It won't change the output at all, but it does change my view for me. So it allows me to personalize my environment to something I'm more comfortable with. Now, let's say I need to see this in larger when we talked about increasing font size earlier. So let's increase this font size. So it makes it easier. Perhaps I have a small screen or I have visual problems and I need larger font. I can change this font size very easily and it won't change the output at all. It only changes my environment. Okay? So I've showed you a brief look at some of the things that you can do to personalize the environment. We took a look at some of the things that people tend to gravitate towards when they become a little bit more comfortable. So we looked at the editing environment, splitting the window, moving content in chunks. Oh, tags on or off. Oh, here we've been doing all this editing and authoring and never once did we look at tags. So while we've been, remember when we bolded and we italicized and we underlined and we added list items, we added ordered list and unordered lists, and we added graphics and we added a table. We did all this work up here. Never once did we enter or use or modify. We were not looking at XML tags when we were doing it. However, if I'm comfortable with it, I can turn them on, and you can see where automatically that's been done for me. So if I'm not comfortable with looking at tags, I can edit an author without ever seeing a tag. This is the biggest concern, I think, for people because they're afraid that tags will overwhelm people who are just contributing or collaborating. So you have the option of turning them off, and you're still writing XML without ever knowing one tag. It's just done automatically behind the scenes. Okay, so let's go back here and make sure we've covered everything in here and how easy it is. So hopefully you've been able to see that really, honestly, using Editor is so easy, a child could do it. When you look at the advantages, it's really easy to see that the slight discomfort you may have in learning and letting go of some outdated habits far outweighs the discomfort, right? So the ease and the benefits are priceless in comparison. You've got increased efficiencies, so there's no need to import, export. There's no need to fix formatting issues. When you send out a Word template, does it ever come back the same? The answer is no, rarely. Oftentimes those things get changed and you have to fix it. The focus for the authors becomes their content or their subject matter and not on formatting. They don't need to worry about formatting. So you're going to have a consistency in output style because the final output is not dictated by Editor at all. It's controlled by the styler and the DTD that works behind the scenes, right? Another thing that I didn't really touch on too much, but actually I didn't touch on at all, that you can even create an authoring environment that is like a form. It's almost like a form. It's a template that they can use, and you can say, insert this type of information here, put blah, blah here. So you can actually create a form type of template for them if they're creating a new document. We were just showing editing an existing document. That might be really helpful if they're creating a new document. You future-proof your content. In Editor, everything is XML, standards-based. It's human-readable. When you think about all of the content, remember an old tool called WordPerfect? It was a prolific tool years ago. I think it really took off in the legal community. And they still have legacy content locked in WordPerfect, trying to find an old computer that has an old copy of WordPerfect that they can open it on. Good luck with that. With a native XML, it's human readable. You can use WordPad. You can use any XML aware tool to open up the document. So you don't have to worry about legacy data conversion. And ease in compilation, you know, the final output, you pull it all together. It's all XML. It's all XML. It comes together without a fuss, seamlessly. And another note, a little side note, let's see if there's any questions. Another side note is I was talking with someone the other day who's also attends the TC Dojo on a fairly regular basis. We were having a conversation. He just recently took a new position at a company. He just joined them not too long ago, and he had several years of Arbortext experience already behind him, so he knew the advantages of structured authoring and XML and the benefits for the company. So that helped a great deal. So he came into an environment where everybody knew Word. They were all very comfortable with Word, and everybody knew Word. But he focused on training them, and he understood that Editor is so easy. Even a child can use it. The key was in how you train them and how you teach people the tool so that they can become successful. And the training that he focused on, he got people who had never been in a professional editing tool before. He got them in there functioning and flourishing with great confidence inside of a week. So it didn't take long, and they were paddling around in tags as if they've always been doing this sort of thing, and XML was just no big deal. They totally understood it, and it was all in the training. Now, luckily, he joined a training. He was in a training department, so he really understood the emphasis of training, and that makes all the difference in the world. So I don't see any questions, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm sorry, I noticed there's a digit missing on the phone number. I'll have to fix that on the next slide. But here's our email. You can always find us on singlesourcing.com as well. Okay. So we'll go ahead and see what we've got up next in queue for the next open session, Visualizing Data with Phyllis Banner. She is a guest presenter. I hope you will all sign up to attend this. There's your registration link. You can also vote. Don't forget, you can vote on future upcoming topics. You can suggest topics, and there's the link for you there. The next Arbortext edition, we're going to be talking about managing side-by-side content. So this is going to be a styler talk. That should be a lot of fun. I think Liz is going to be leading that one. And the registration link is there for you. Okay, the next Master Series. We missed the January Master Series because we were busy with TC Camp. But the next one's coming up Monday, February 24th, and there's the registration, tcdojo.org, if you want to register for the Master Session. Okay, so thank you for attending. I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to vote. TC Dojo is all about you. So we'd like to hear what you want to learn about in tech pubs in general or in Arbortext specific. And there's the link. Thank you again.